Hello, and welcome to our presentation on gay marriage and homosexuality by myself, B. Yench, and Eric Kipschman. The definition of marriage is one that has been the same since the beginning of time. Merriam-Webster's dictionary says that the state of being united to a person of the opposite sex as husband or wife in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. The Constitution defines marriage as being marriage in the United States shall consist only of the union of a man and a woman. It is important to keep these definitions in mind because it validates that marriage is meant to be between one man and one woman.
The religious standard of marriage. Marriage is between one man and one woman. This definition is held by Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. When governments were first being made, they often coincided with religion. Almost every religion defines marriage as a union between one man and one woman. This is an important piece of information to keep in mind when talking about marriage. Marriage was designed so that a man and a woman could share a special bond with each other. The first job of the man is to be the leader of the house and to care for the woman. The first job of the woman is to respect the husband and to help him. When children come, the vocation of the man expands to being a father, and his duty as a father is to protect and teach his children. The woman now takes the job of being a mother, and also must love and guide her children. The children are to love and respect the parents so that they may learn and grow in a healthy family, and one day start a family of their own. This family structure is vitally important for teaching and continuing the human population. When there is a same-sex marriage, this structure is diminished and disfigured.
The history of marriage. Genesis 2 verse 24 states, "That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." This verse gives additional evidence to heterosexual marriage because it says directly that a man should marry a woman and they will become one and follow God's plan for marriage. In addition to biblical evidence, marriage was seen as being a union between a man and a woman. In order to show the significance of a marriage, a ceremony was performed so that the couple would remember their date forever. While the main reason for marriage was love, some were arranged to benefit others. For example, to unite countries and to restore the peace, and also, in some cases, to gain power and wealth. No matter what the reason for marriage, up until the 1970s, all marriages were recognized as being between one man and one woman.
The religious history of gay marriage. Genesis chapter 19, verse 24. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. And from the Quran, Surah chapter 7, verse 81 and 84. You gratify your lust with men instead of women. Indeed, you are a people who transgress the limits. And we rained upon his people. Then behold, what happened in the end to the guilty ones. In addition to defining marriage, many religions also address homosexuality. Both in the Bible and the Quran, sodomy is a grave offense punishable by death. These strict punishments show that up until recent decades, homosexuality was considered a terrible thing to do. This raises questions as to whether or not homosexuality could ever be justifiable. The history of gay marriage in the United States. Homosexuality definition in 1925. In one Kansas Supreme Court case, homosexuality was defined as the particular form of abomination which shocked the sensibilities of our forefathers. And on June 28, 1970, the first lesbian and gay pride march took place in Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. This march began in order to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which occurred a year earlier in the Greenwich Village of New York. Every year, near the end of June, similar marches take place in remembrance of the start of the gay rights movement. In 1986, Bowers v. Hardwick case. As the century progressed, the harsh attitudes toward the issue lessened, but was not abolished. In one case, the Bowers v. Hendrick, Michael Hardwick failed to appear at court for charges on public drinking. When police arrived at Hardwick's house, they discovered him engaging in sexual activities with another male. This violated the Georgia sodomy statute, and the penalty for such an act was imprisonment for up to 20 years. Also in 1996, President Clinton signed the Defense of Marriage Act. This defined marriage as a union between one man and one woman. And in 2004, Massachusetts was the first state to legalize gay marriage.
Another reason why homosexuality is wrong and unnatural is the increased risks of sexually transmitted diseases. Some of those potential diseases include hepatitis, human papillomavirus, syphilis, and AIDS. These risks are increased not only because of the unnaturalness of homosexuality, but homosexual couples tend to practice unsafe sex. They do this more often than heterosexual couples because there is no risk for pregnancy, so they feel like there is no risk and no consequences for not using protection. So why change now homosexuality is wrong? Whether or not same-sex marriage should be allowed has been debated for several decades now. Each side believes they are right. However, the fact of the matter is homosexuality has been wrong in almost every culture up until now. So why, after many centuries of this mindset, is it now okay to indulge in this behavior? It seems that America is deciding to change its moral standard. Hopefully, it can be stopped soon.
Define marriage.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman. Now, for me as a Christian, it's also a sacred union. God's in the mix.
Would you support a constitutional amendment with that definition?
No, I would not.
Why not?
And because historically we have not defined marriage in our Constitution. It's been a matter of state law. That has been our tradition. Now, I mean, let's break it down. The reason that people think there needs to be a constitutional amendment, some people believe, is because of the concern that about same-sex marriage. I am not somebody who promotes same-sex marriage, but I do believe in civil unions. I do believe that we should not, that for gay partners to want to visit each other in a hospital, for the state to say, you know what, that's all right. I don't think in any way inhibits my core beliefs about what marriage are. I think my faith is strong enough and my marriage is strong enough that I can afford those civil rights to others, even if I have a different perspective or a different view.
Okay.
Are you for something like that?
I am, in my own state, I have voted along with the vast majority of Alaskans who had the opportunity to vote to amend our Constitution defining marriage as between one man and one woman. I wish on a federal level that that's where we would go, because I don't support gay marriage. I'm not going to be out there judging individuals, sitting in a seat of judgment, telling them what they can and can't do, should and should not do, but I certainly can express my own opinion here and take actions that I believe would be best for traditional marriage, and that's casting my votes and speaking up for traditional marriage. That instrument that it's the foundation of our society is that strong family, and that's based on that traditional definition of marriage.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Lutheran High News. With me here is Eric Hipschman, who is here to express his views on same-sex marriage. Good afternoon, Eric.
Good afternoon.
First question for you. What is your view on same-sex marriage?
I believe that marriage should be between one man and one woman, and that same-sex marriage should not be practiced.
Why is your view the correct one? What evidence do you have to back your opinion up?
I think to decide whether homosexuality is right or wrong, we first have to look at the purpose of marriage.
And what is that purpose?
Since the beginning of time, the main purpose of marriage has been to fulfill the vocations of father and mother.
Why should that matter? A gay or lesbian couple can easily adopt a child and raise it as their own.
A family cannot function as it was intended unless there is both a man and woman in the family.
What proof do you have that this is indeed true?
The most clear definition can be found in the Bible, but in addition, marriage has been defined in every culture up until now as a union between a man and a woman.
But not everyone believes in the Bible. Do you have any political proof that demonstrates your view on marriage?
Well, first I would say just because someone does not believe something does not mean it is false. And secondly, the United States Constitution says that, quote, marriage in the United States shall consist only of the union of a man and woman, as stated in the Federal Marriage Amendment, which was signed in 2004.
Why should only heterosexual couples be able to marry? What risk does homosexuality carry?
The main risk that homosexuality carries are health risks. Homosexuals have a higher risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases, including AIDS, hepatitis, human papillomavirus, and syphilis.
Does that mean if a homosexual couple used protection, everything would be okay?
It is possible to make that point, but that still does not negate my previous argument regarding the Constitution and the Bible, which both state marriage as being between a man and a woman.
What about the Equal Rights Amendment? Doesn't everyone deserve the opportunity to marry someone they love?
To answer that question, you have to justify homosexuality as being a civil right. I do not believe it is. In addition, the Equal Rights Amendment does not state anything about homosexuality.
So what would you say to the people that feel as though this is unjust and that everyone should be able to get married, no matter what their gender preference is?
The issue here is defining a civil right. I think this is a dangerous slope that Americans are slipping down. If people want a right to live a homosexual lifestyle, then who is to say that they can't drive 100 miles an hour down the road or abuse people on the street? What if they think that is their right? You have to take into consideration if an issue like homosexuality is necessary to the people in question. If it's not, then the issue is not a civil right.
Even if it is not a civil right, people may feel that as American citizens, they have the right to choose who they want to marry.
That may be your opinion, but how would you justify that homosexuality is right? And secondly, if the Constitution and most religious books say that it's wrong, what does it matter if people want it?
Society as it is today is one that desires equality in all aspects, and it does not matter if the law says that it is wrong. They will go around it and find loopholes to get what they want.
So you're saying that we should ignore the Constitution and thousands of years of religious tradition? You're saying that we should let people do whatever they want? I think that is a very anarchic idea and would compromise the Constitution.
Well, I'm afraid we're out of time for now. Thank you for your time. I think you have an interesting perspective on same-sex marriage.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for today's programming. We hope this has been enlightening, and until next time, stay straight.